Diary. Hello. Hello, everyone. Uh, welcome. Welcome to this month's Surrey Muse gathering. We're also live streaming as well. My name is Mariam Zohra D, and I'm your host. Um, Let me just begin by saying that Surrey Muse gatherings take place on the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Siamamu, Katsi, Coquitlam, Kwantlen, Keket, Tawasin, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. So Surrey Muse events happen every month except for December. For the last 10 years or so, it had been every fourth Friday of the month. This year in 2023, we're every fourth Saturday of the month. And it's 1 to 4 p.m., always on the fourth floor of the Surrey Public City Center Library. Um, and our program is as such that we're a multidisciplinary, we're an interdisciplinary art and literature presentation group. So each month, each event would feature not only an author, a poet, but also we can invite a performer or a visual artist, a dancer, a singer, for that third slot. And each of those featured presenters get 20 minutes each to present, and then we have a 10-minute discussion, providing that we are in person. Because, of course, during COVID, we didn't meet at the library for that frame of time. We were virtual, and now we've continued the live streaming of the event, but we're in person. So we can discourse again as well for those 10 minutes each after each presenter, the featured presenter is on. So we'll have a featured author, Dorothy Palmer this time, featured poet, Manolis, who isn't able to make it, so we'll skip over. But then we'll have featured artist, Kenzie Housego, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll come back with emerging writer diary Marif, and let me just catch that. And the emerging, let's see, poet, I believe. Let me just double check. Ooh. Yes, emerging poet Sheikh, who will, Dorothy, Haya, and Kenzie will be connecting with us remotely via Skype. So after Sheikh presents, if there's anyone here who wants to do open mic, there are 5 minute slots for that. Emerging writer and poet will present for 10 minutes, and we'll discourse with them as well for 5 minutes each. All right, so let me begin by introducing Dorothy Palmer, our first featured presenter today, featured author. I'll read her bio for you. Dorothy Ellen Palmer is a former English drama teacher, improv coach, and union branch president, now a disabled senior writer and disability activist. Her short fiction and nonfiction appear in over 40 literary and disability journals. Longlisted for the Relit Award, her first novel, When Fenelon Falls, features a disabled teen protagonist in the Moonwalk Woodstock summer of 1969. Her adoption disability memoir, Falling for Myself, was a finalist for the Hamilton Book Awards and acclaimed by the Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, and Quill Enquirer. She is the winner of the 2020 Helen Henderson Award for Disability Journalism, has served on Fold's Accessibility Advisory Committee, and appeared at Fold, Gritlit, Watts, The Next Chapter, The A-List, and CBC Radio. She can always be found tweeting at DEPALM. At tonight's gathering, Dorothy will be featured author participating via Skype. Please welcome Dorothy.
inspires humanity. And I believed him. In my defense, it was likely 1966, and I was likely 11. I say likely because that's as memory serves me, and memory is no one's servant. It won't bring me the story's title or author, but memory is a good stitch counter, good for recovering dropped stitches and reworking old patterns. Today, I understand that I cried because we're all taught to see aging and disability through only the most sentimental and personal of lenses. Interwoven conditionings of ableism and ageism perfectly prime us to weep the granny's tale because we've all swallowed the lie that it's her job to overcome disability, her job to labor uncomplainingly alone until she remakes herself worthy. We're taught to see individual triumph, so we won't see collective failure. At 67, I see what my doubly traumatized 11-year-old self never could. I'm inexorably shaped by dropped stitches, by my inaccurately knit bones, and missing birth family. Over 8 decades, I've journeyed from denying any holes existed to embracing them as integral to my identity, resisting the pattern of inferiority the world told me to knit into myself. I refuse to accept that my disabled bastard body makes me, like the granny, a disposable cast-off. Every piece of knitting has two sides, a right side and a wrong side. Today, I'm a proud old crone crafting yarns of wool and words. I'm also a frail old biddy shunted into a pandemic corner. It's time to recast the granny story and mine. 2020. Designing a quilt requires the dreams of an inventor, the mathematical savvy of an engineer, the grasp of tools and materials of a carpenter, and the dexterity of a neurosurgeon. I've always appreciated the skillful art of a granny quilt and longed to make one. The granny's quilt was fabric, but a granny quilt is crocheted, not sewn. It's 100-some multicolored granny squares, chain stitched together with black yarn. Square patterns carry musical names: Springtime Magic, Broomstick Lace, Mountain Wildfire, and Mother's Heartbeat. Cézanne was correct, however, when he said, "The view contains the viewer." Our view of the world contains and is contained by our experiences and biases, by what we see and do not see. What do I see when I see a granny quilt? Art forever inaccessible to me. My arthritic hands can knit because the needle shapes each stitch, but with a lone crochet hook, I can't maintain the consistent tension needed to craft flat, identically sized, sharp-cornered squares. Mine look less like lovely petals and more like lumpy pancakes. In the sourdough days of the pandemic, since I'm equally incapable of kneading bread, I reached for my guilty pleasure. Plastic canvas is a true blank canvas. Like a window screen, it's simply a sheet of holes awaiting stitches. Bendable and easily cut into shapes, it's a versatile medium that's gotten a bad rap. Thanks to the DIY decor of jack-o'-lantern fridge magnets, candy cane coasters, and samplers proclaiming "Stitch, love, pray for more wool," plastic canvas art is seen by its scoffers at best as schmaltzy old lady kitsch, and at worst as garbage. But I've always loved it. Perhaps precisely because three novels, one memoir, and I have a kids book coming out next year. So it was a combination of luck and hard work and very, very slowly and eventually believing in myself. Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question. My kids would say my favorite form of expression is snark. That I was an improv teacher for years, and I really value humor, and I specifically value sort of darker, snarky humor. So my most recent book, Kerfuffle, is about an improv troupe and has lots of snarky humor in it. They're doing some things they should do and maybe some things they shouldn't do during the 2010 G20 protests in Toronto. So there's certainly lots of room for political snark in that book. Um, I guess also in truth, I feel very fulfilled from by any piece of writing that fulfills the purpose I hoped it would have. So if it's a more scholarly article and I feel I did a good job, I'm fulfilled by that. If it's just a piece of snarky humor and everybody laughs, I'm fulfilled by that too. I'm working on another essay, which is going to go into the Journal of Mad and Crypt Theology, which is coming up in the spring. I'm working on a reworking of Anne of Green Gables, where Anne's birth mother is actually Marilla's disabled sister, who has been locked away in a very real psychiatric facility in Charlottetown. Um, and it links history in a couple of interesting ways. My longstanding hatred of Sir John A. Macdonald is finally getting a place to belong because he, in fact, has raped Marilla's sister and is Anne's father and is now trying to kill them. So it's really an interesting sort of reworking both of the mythology of adoption, of it all being wonderful and everybody is as happy as Anne, and the mythology of Canadian colonialism and how Sir John A. Macdonald was a creep. And I'm really enjoying playing with both of those things, the micro and the macro of that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate everything that you guys do. I appreciate the contest and thank the judges and everyone who attended and helped make this possible. Thank you, Fatia. Thank you. Bye-bye.
She's online too, right? Does this, do you want to look through the camera, see if this is on there? Is that better, Mariam?
Um, Thank you to Dorothy Palmer. That was amazing work, and the humor weaved in there as well. Uh, it's great. Um, Now, our featured poet Manolis wasn't able to make it today. There is a snowfall warning today, but we haven't seen the snow yet. But it's kept some folks away, I bet. So let me move on and introduce our featured artist, who's ringing in now. Kenzie, if you could just turn the volume down on your YouTube. Sorry about this.
Hello. Yep, Mariam is just introducing you.
Okay, here we go. This is Kenzie Housego. Will you tell her that I'm just going to introduce her? Kenzie, I'm just going to. She turned her. Can she hear us in Skype though?
One second.
Can you hear us, Kenzie? Can you hear us? Okay. Uh, yes, Kenzie, I'm going to introduce you. Kenzie,
Let me see. Yes, you go. Oh, and Skype, I don't know if you can. Oh, yeah, you do. The bottom right-hand side. Yeah.
shall I introduce you, Kenzie?
Just give us 1 second while Mariam introduces you, and then you can share screen and.
Kenzie Housego. Kenzie Housego is a Calgary-based multidisciplinary artist and arts activist who has recently completed a Master of Fine Art, specializing in new media at the University of Calgary, Mohkinstsis in Treaty 7 region, southern Alberta. As a multidisciplinary artist, her practice includes fiber, embroidery, new media, and assemblage mediums. The use of technology such as LEDs, Arduino microcontrollers, texting, and screens within her research is symbolic of the virtual realms in which we participate as a society. It's important to Kenzie that her artwork always offers an invitation for interactivity, encouraging viewers to shift from being passive observers to active co producers as they engage with the digital media, experience other points of view, and ultimately form their own individual meanings. Her recent series titled Heart Broken Heart explores emoji heart, emoji heart, emoji heart. Explores contemporary courtship, romance, technology, and historical signs and signifiers connected to dating and romance. Kenzie has had the opportunity to showcase her art nationally and internationally. Kenzie is the second place winner of the Norvell Morceau Award for Visual Arts 2022 with Surrey Muse. Please welcome Kenzie Housego.
So I'll get started. I'm going to just show you a quick PowerPoint presentation. And hopefully this works. Now you're just seeing yourself. Share screen. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, everyone, this looks right? It's on the screen, correct for you guys? Yeah? Thumbs up, thank you. Okay, so again, my name is Kenzie Housego. I recently graduated with the MFA in New Media Technologies from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, or Mohkinstsis in Treaty 7, Southern Alberta. And through research creation in my art practice, I'm using semiotics of signs and symbols around adornment, craft, and decoration as a part of courtship and female gender performance. And my current series is investigating universal facets of contemporary courtship around technology, online representation, dating tropes, communication, miscommunication, all within the context of new media and craft. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of context. I'm going to go back to a bit of earlier work just to kind of talk about my actual creation process and a little bit of evolution here. So I did my Bachelor's of Fine Art at the Alberta College of Art and Design in printmaking, but you'll quickly see that I'm not quite a printmaker, and I don't know if I ever really fit in that department, but I did my best. And so this is work from that time, and I'd say through like personal exploration has always been a part of my art making practice. And I'm following kind of these inquiries around engaging with materials, touching and experimenting with materials, and following threads of performance, theatrics, adornments, and costume, because they've always been really intrinsic in my life, and obviously they're part of my artwork. So I'm drawn to decorative and found objects with a sense of imagery, or sense of history, sorry, and they speak to societal narratives of a romanticized past and power dynamics. I strongly believe that the materials and mediums can be like weighted through their collective memory they hold. So this is my Bachelor's of Fine Art like thesis. It's called Double Date, and I would probably describe it as like a assemblage sculpture. And when I talk about objects, like these found objects to me, they're almost like autobiographical. They're telling their own story. So they become signifiers or symbols or motifs in my own personal iconography that I use in art making. So for instance, doilies, trimming, lace, they all for me represent the domestic or hyper feminine. And glitter, jewels, sequins, and even LEDs now kind of touch on this idea of drama or bravado. And technology, there's like a whole swath of symbolism and signifiers there, digits and selfie culture, which I kind of explore later in my practice. But the layering of these objects and these as symbols kind of is just as important to create those narratives in the work itself. So this is kind of a weird little leap. So between my Bachelor's of Fine Art and my Master's, I spent a lot of time working in a collective. We called ourselves PHI, and I worked with artists and engineers. And this is kind of where I cut my teeth learning about electronics and fabric. And basically, our collective was interested in wearable art and using technology to kind of engage participants through wearables. So I kind of brought my neo-Baroque, maybe adornment and decorative approach to the collective. So a lot of these wearable pieces I'm going to show you quickly right now, they all have sensors, so they react to the wearer's touch or movements or heartbeat even. And as kind of time went on making these works, we did this probably about, I don't know, 6-7 years. I was in this collective and making several different pieces, and we were traveling around and showing these works. Things did become a little more conceptual. For instance, this is probably our most conceptual piece. It's called Gamer Girls. And there's two wearable, they're kind of like LED screens on the front of these garments, and the two performers are playing like a 8-bit video arcade game on each other's garment here. So yeah, like I said, I traveled around. I got to show this work kind of in Asia. We went to China 3 times, mostly in these kind of non-art venues, which was really surreal and weird. And I got to meet, interesting people. So this is us at CS Asia in Shanghai and CS Vegas. I also got to go to Dublin and Rome, but again, like they were non-art venues. So it was a really weird kind of dynamic straddling kind of artist worlds, maker worlds, and also, I guess, fashion designing worlds. So in 2018, I decided to do my master's. So I kind of brought all these new kind of art making skills together, and they started to synthesize, and this is informed the kind of art I'm making now. So I was composing similar coded images with suggestive materials along with LEDs and sensors at the beginning here. So I'm just going to quickly show you some earlier MFA work. So again, kind of selfie culture, thinking about filters and our online, how we represent ourselves online. So this is a Snapchat, an iPad with Snapchat, and I asked like viewers to engage with it. It's called Vanity. This was my homage to Tinder. So some practice hunting arrows down there and light up hearts, and I scorched the birch panel here. And this was a bit of a turning point for me. I started thinking about the 21st century, how the widespread of online dating apps and websites has fostered new contemporary dating trends and visual symbology. So profile descriptions, emojis, sexting, texting are common visual tactics that communicate desire, attraction, and romantic intention. So I kind of began to focus on these courting rituals and under this broader umbrella of technology and gender performance and craft, how they're all interrelated. I was drawing parallels between historical signifiers related to courting rituals, and also I began to look at the language of flowers too, along with emojis and their meaning. The language of flowers, if you don't know what it is, it's this kind of unspoken, cryptological way of communicating to someone. It was really popular in the Victorian era in the 1800s, maybe when things couldn't be said out loud, and you'd be like kind of essentially give a bouquet to someone or a flower to someone, and they would all represent something. So I mean, obviously the rose with thorns is deep, passionate love, and a yellow flower could represent or infidelity. I kind of had this aha moment here too, because I realized that cross stitch and embroidery patterns emulate pixelated images. So I asked myself, could I remake those patterns in LEDs? And so this is my attempt. These are actual cross stitch patterns. And this is kind of an extension of that. I guess thinking about the language of flowers, I took contemporary messages. So these were messages that were left unsaid or wanted, maybe not said or should have been said. I asked participants to give me these messages to romantic partners or potential romantic partners. And then I reinterpreted them in flowers. So, you promised to love me forever, but you left. WTF, how do you represent that in flowers? So this is my attempt here. using like a flower dictionary I got from the 1800s. Here's another one. And this is the last body work I'm going to talk about. It's my MFA thesis work. So this is the emoji, red heart emoji, broken heart emoji. Yeah, I'm kind of playing with that symbolism there. Right. Okay, so this yeah, here I'm really drawing those parallels between the contemporary courting rituals of craft and new media technologies themselves, and traditional craft, and also this kind of these floral motifs that are in many traditional embroidery patterns. So this is primary florography. So these are words taken from online dating profiles, and they're kind of situated around these digital flowers. This one is titled Selfie Guys. So these are male identifying figures, 12 that are all taking selfies, and there is a sensor at the bottom of this piece. So as you get close to the piece, it lights up and activates, and all of these LED cameras flash at you. This one is titled Emoji Bot, and it glows in the center with LEDs and surrounded by emojis. Everything is embroidered here either by hand, or I have an embroidery machine. I can show you my studio quickly after this if you want. And this piece is interesting because you can text it. So on the wall, it has a phone number, and viewers can text this phone number, and the artwork will respond to you. But the caveat is it only speaks in emojis. This piece has LEDs, like hearts, emojis that are kind of cycling at the top there. So they're all pretty activated in person. I do have a video on my YouTube page, so if you do want to kind of see what they look like in person, on a video, it's kind of fun. So this piece is the last piece I'm going to talk about. It is called Flirtbot. So like Emoji Bot, it has a phone number, and you can text the piece, and behind this first layer of fabric there is an LED matrix, so essentially a computer screen, and the video plays like little animations of emojis, and they switch based on what you texted. So if you're really kind of nice to this artwork and you say you're beautiful, I love you, you might get some heart emoji animations. If you are mean to it, maybe you'll get an angry devil face. It also says hi and bye to you, and simultaneously it does text back. So these are kind of like simple AI, artificial intelligence chatbots. So I do have a video. I don't want to take up too much time. I already know we're at 12 minutes here, but it's like half a minute. So I will show it if you're interested. I do have a show coming up in May at the Art Gallery of Alberta, where I'll be showing this work plus the 3 new pieces I'm making here at the BAM Center. So this is kind of like the wall text for that show, and I'm really excited. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. These are the.
Just so you know, you got 20 minutes to present.
Oh, I do. I thought I had 10.
No, there's 10 minutes of discussion after your presentation. So go on,
Okay.
show us more.
Okay, sorry if I blew through anything. Well, then we can just talk a bit more. I'll definitely show the videos then. Okay. So yeah. So this show opens May 20th, and it'll be up for 5 months at the Art Gallery of Alberta. And these are the 3 new pieces I'm going to be making at the BAM Center here. So they're an extension of the Emoji Bot work I did earlier, and exploring different, obviously, some symbolism. And again, these pieces will each have a phone number associated with them, and they will text you back if you text them. So engaging in a bit of a conversation. And if you don't know what a chatbot is, essentially, like I said, is simple artificial intelligence. So when you go on a banking website or a shopping website, a little window pops up in the corner and it says, "How can I help you?" That's a chatbot. So it's pre-programmed responses to kind of like typical questions or whatnot, but they're not always that smart. Sometimes they don't know how to answer right, but it does learn. So if the chatbot doesn't recognize your question, it will send you something that it thinks it should respond to. So it's very interesting. I've been playing a lot more with that at the Bounce Center, and I hope to learn more about kind of basic AI. This is a little kind of sketch. These are digital sketches, by the way. I've kind of photo collaged these for myself, so they don't exist in real life. Of this selfie ladies piece I'm going to be making here. So it's a pendant to the selfie guys piece. And again, as you get close to this artwork, the cameras will flash at you. And in this image, all the figures are the same, but I'm hoping to have 12 different female identifying figures in this artwork. So I'll just quickly get out of here and I'll show the videos since we have just a little bit of time. Stop sharing, and then I'm going to go. So I think you can see a YouTube screen now. Yeah, great. Okay, so I'm just going to show you Flirtbot. Again, it's very short, but it gives you kind of the idea of how this piece works. So as you can see, someone texted the bot, and then the animation changed, and the bot texted this person back.
What do you see when you see you?
And I think you can see this one too. So this is the whole show. I mean, it's only a minute and a half, so maybe I'll just kind of play it here. You can see this video, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So they're quite large. They're about 3 feet by 3 feet, and they're all obviously mimicking embroidery hoops. So again, that's another way I'm kind of bridging this idea of craft and technology together, because I feel like they are really interrelated. I mean, historically, the very first programs ever made or codes ever written, here's the selfie guys working. So the very first programs or coding that was ever done was actually done for looms in like the during the Industrial Revolution. So our So as I mentioned in this piece, the yellow could mean infidelity or jealousy, red, love, deep romantic love, and blue, actually, roses stand for kind of, or represent the unattainable. So when I made a Plenty of Fish profile, if any of you know what that is, it's an online dating website, and I looked at male identifying individuals, heterosexual men looking for women, their profiles, and kind of pulled out words that I kind of kept seeing over and over again, and then associated them with those kind of flowers as far as thinking about language and text as symbols. And this is Send Nudes meme, which actually has been around for a long time. So it's a way of kind of softening this sort of declarative statement and poking fun at this kind of collaboration here. So yeah, that is. I will close that and back to here. Oh, okay. Okay, I think I'm back. All right. I think that's all I have for you. So we could go to questions if that feels good.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kenzie. That was quite interesting. Let's give us some round of applause.
What's your
Anyone?
electrical engineering background? I didn't hear any of that.
Did you hear that? What's your
Do I have-
engineering background?
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, that whole period of my life where I was collaborating on the wearable tech pieces, we worked with electrical engineers. So it was usually with artists. We kind of meet as a group, and these were creative people too. They obviously were interested in art and using their kind of electrical engineer skills in a creative way. But it was really fun collaborating with different individuals with different skill sets, and we kind of often present a problem like, I want to make a hat that like spins around. How would you do that or whatever? And they were kind of providing us problem solving. So, but over the course of that time working with electrical engineers, I now know how to solder. I have my whole soldering station over here ready, and I do some basic programming. I'll admit that I'm not by any means. It's a little kind of hacky. I mean, I approach it like, can I get the thing to do what I want it to do? And if it does, like, I'm happy. Maybe like if a coder looked at my code, they'd be like, ooh, what was that? But it doesn't matter on my part. But I still actually collaborate when it's super complicated. Like that piece Flirtbot with the videos changing, that required a lot of specific knowledge I didn't have. So I actually collaborated with amazing woman, and she's an artist also, but her main job, she went to engineering school, and she works for a company that does big scale lighting, and she kind of helped me with that. So I pay people to help me with like bigger problems I can't solve, but I'm always happy to learn more. Yeah.
That's cool.
Hi, Kenzie. I'm gonna come close enough, like there or there.
I wanted to know what made you choose technology to express your art. What was the thing that made you
Drew you.
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was just an experiment, especially with the wearables. I think I saw a call out. They just wanted to pair artists with electrical engineers and see what they came up with, and I took up the challenge. But once I discovered, with my relationship through maker fairs and going to, I don't know if you're familiar with maker fairs, but they're kind of like events where makers come together, whether it be electronic or sewers or leather workers, and I started going to these events and seeing all these cool. To me, I was seeing them as art making methods. They were just like other mediums for me. So that got me into technology, and I kind of got hooked. I was always into sparkles and sequins and stuff. So to me, like LEDs are the ultimate like jewel you could have. But recently, like through my master's, I realized that technology is so amazing to create that dialogue, that direct dialogue with the audience. And in the wearable art, the only person who got to sort of engage with the art in a real way were the wearers or the performers, right? They got to kind of experience the art in a different way, and the viewers were always passive. So that shift in my master's to do like the 2D pieces and allow the general audience, like anyone who came into the gallery, could engage with the art. And I love that technology can do that. I feel like it makes us think differently about kind of broader subjects or maybe concepts. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Um, I also see this very interesting um, correlation between the craft and digital art or digital
Mm-hmm.
skill or equipment or something. So I'm wondering, do you think that craft has a future if it actually linked with digitization?
I think craft has a future regardless whether it's connected to technology or not. I mean, craft is it's everywhere. I mean, you can link it to clothes, and we love jewelry. I think it's not going away. I think craft has its future on its own in every
Right.
respect. But I do think that there is something maybe people it gives opportunity um, a chance for people to maybe look at craft differently if you approach it kind of like maybe through a new media lens. I mean, there's actually a lot of interesting craft materials. Like I actually have conductive thread. So I have thread that you can run through a sewing machine that acts like a wire. And there's a lot of people playing with this kind of these things now. And there's sewable LEDs. And so I think they're kind of embracing each other a bit, at least in some worlds. In my world, they are. Yeah.
That's good to know. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else? Well, Kenzie, where do you think you're going in the future with what tech is on the horizon that's attracting you? Where do you think your art's going to go in like 5 years? Like
Oh
in
my
terms of
goodness.
the collaborating you do with technology and how fast it's moving and changing.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of very attracted to these ideas of like the artificial intelligence. I don't know, whatever, G chat. What do they call it? Oh my goodness. It
Yeah,
was just in the news
Yeah.
there. You know what I'm talking about? That like app that's been in the news everywhere, and universities are worried about kids writing their essays about it, with it. Um, but I actually haven't even really played with that enough yet. So I have no clue. That's something I want to investigate more. What else? I think I approached this work too. What if you could like? What if an artwork could make you fall in love with it? Could you flirt with an artwork? Could you fall in love with an artwork? So those are ideas I still think I'm gonna play with. 5 years from now, I don't know. I have lots of things around this kind of subject I want to investigate, especially like the filters and the selfie kind of culture is interesting to me. And so maybe that's like an area I'll investigate more. I also am a new mother. I have a 14-month-old now, and thank you. It's been an interesting ride. So I kind of want to make some robotic, soft items. I don't know that are on the wall and maybe they move when viewers walk in. And based on my experience of being a mother, I don't know.
and
Anyways.
that your little one will probably like that too, right?
He already likes all the LEDs in the house. but yeah, I'm excited when he can maybe talk a bit more and tell me his opinions about
So
all this. So
when you were saying fall in love with an art, I guess it kind of reminds me of like falling in love with AI. Like we've made movies about, the woman AI um, and then there's I don't even older 80s sort of where they're talking, a human is talking to a computer AI, and that AI is like asking things like, when you turn me off, like, do I dream? Am I going to dream or this and that kind of
yeah,
conversation that you can
I
have with
think that's like
this
break
kind of
or
AI. Is
something.
that a fall in love
Yeah.
situation? Is that what you're thinking? Like, because your art has AI in it?
I mean, to I know these are prototypes. I don't have like, I'm trying to keep my expectations like they're babies. They're in training, my AI. Um, but I like that idea. Like, and yeah, there was that movie Her, and actually the show for the Art Gallery of Alberta that I'm preparing for. The curator and I've had a lot of conversations about this, and the wall text that she's making, you know, like the didactic. So when you walk up, it's going to be very different. She's framed it in the way like the artwork's talking to you. So I think it's gonna be like, hey there, I think I love you. The second you walked into the room, and you know, and it's like she's actually written a text like as if the artwork was talking to the viewer, and sort of trying to pick them up in a dating website. So
I
it's an
guess
interesting idea,
a good
playful.
conversation is timeless. The occurrence of a fun or good conversation is timeless. Well, thank you so much, Kenzie.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And also, this is such an amazing like group and organization you have here. I'm very flattered, masked. It's so awesome you have this in your community, and I think it's really great
Thank you for
doing
being
this.
part of it.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it.
Cheers to you.
Thanks.
So, see you later. Take care. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon.
Mariam, do we have a break now?
Thank you.
So, yes, that's right. We're having a 10-minute break, and then we'll be right back with Diary Marif, our emerging writer. Woohoo! We can have 15 minutes of break.
Yes, let's have 15 minutes of break and eat everything that's
All right. Thank you for waiting for us to come back from break. And now we're going to continue our program with our emerging writer, Diary Marif, aka Diary Khalid Marif. Diary is an Iraqi Kurdish writer, activist, and journalist with over 15 years of experience as a reporter, editor, and researcher. He earned a master's degree in history from Pune University in India in 2013, and he moved to Vancouver from Iraq in 2017. Diary has been focusing on nonfiction writing and has recently written 2 book chapters for 2 different projects. An author at New Canadian Media, he writes about immigrants, newcomers, and minorities. He participates in rallies in solidarity with minorities and sub-minorities and fights against discrimination and racism. Diary is the recipient of an honorable mention for the Susan Crean Award for Nonfiction in 2022 with Surrey Muse. Thank you so much. Welcome, Diary.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Mariam, for a wonderful introduction. And the name of my story is My Rebellious Feet. My father measured my feet with a thread rig and quickly went to catch the pickup truck that waited for him. He put his jamana, a check scarf worn as a turban, under his right arm and looked back. If you heard the calls, I'll bring you shoes, he called out to me. That was great news. Having new shoes was one of my aspirations because I had hardly ever worn good shoes. I watched the car until it was out of sight and then went to herd the calves. My feet were chopped and both palms were blistered. It was difficult and painful to walk in my shabby shoes. My father had promised to buy new shoes, and that was one of the most exciting things I had in my childhood. I knew when he said he would do something, he wouldn't break his word. It was a warm summer afternoon in 1992. It was only 1 year after my family had returned to Bardabal, our village in northern Iraq, which had been ravaged by the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein in 1979. A few families had returned empty-handed these 12 years later. There were no shops, no power, no public amenities, but the family were so thrilled to start their new lives with nothing but hope guiding them forward. A few times a week, a car or 2 would show up, and the villagers could catch the cars into the town of Saysadaq, around 7 miles away, where they would do their shopping. My father had to walk home with a heavy load if he was not lucky enough to find a car to bring him. The shoes I was wearing were patched so heavily that there was no space for new patches. Some spots were double patched. My feet sometimes bled, and thorns were pierced the shoes, pricking my feet and adding to my blisters. I was happy herding the calves as I imagined my new shoes. I wished he would bring Adidas shoes. That evening my father returned luckily. He had found a car that was going to the neighboring village Kalbaza, which was a gunshot away from ours. He brought with him 2 large bags. He had bound both with his Christian, the Kurdish belt, put them on either sides of his shoulders, and carried him home, panting and drenched in sweat. I brought the shoes, my father said. To my deep disappointment, the shoes were not Adidas. They were a brand called Plasco, which was not popular and only elderly people used to wear them. If children wear them, they were ridiculed. I looked at my father's spray of wrinkles running down his face. My fingers trembled and my voice was resigned. I don't like them, I said. He responded, try them now. Don't kick the ground. Don't lose them. I wear them, but they were too big for my feet. He kept the thread that measured my feet. He took it out of his pocket and measured my feet again. He knew when he knotted the thread, his thick fingers took the thread larger than the true measure of my feet. He used the thread for measuring my feet, as he was illiterate and didn't know how to write the numbers. I asked him to change my shoes. I am not sure when I go to the shop. Maybe next month, he said. The shoes were extremely hot in the summer. I put some clothes inside the shoes in order to make them fit me. I wear them without socks, which made them produce fart-like sounds. For my next shoes, my father measured my feet again and brought me another pair of shoes. I wish he would bring me the same Adidas shoes as my cousins had. My father never brought me things that I liked. He just brought what he thought was appropriate without any consultation. This time he brought out the shoes in a plastic bag. Wear these ones. Don't ask me to change them. He sternly cautioned me. The shoes were too small. They don't fit me. I sadly mumbled and looked at him. It is what it is, he said. I had to wear small shoes. My feet were squeezed and turned red and chopped. When I took them off, I needed to fan my feet because they were too hot, with uncomfortable dents on my skin from the tightness of the shoes. I didn't complain. I wished for the old loose shoes. My father brought me shoes more than 2 years later, but they were uncomfortable and undesirable shoes. I strategized about how to rebel and demand better shoes and clothes. My life needed to change, and I had to find a way to fight for it. I begged my mother to buy me shoes. She listened to me as she always did with my sisters. Traditionally, fathers brought their sons necessary items, as mothers did for their daughters. Until that time, I was the only one on my father's side because my elder brother Ari bought his own necessity while my mother did for my sisters. My mother's team was lucky. She conversed with my sisters before going shopping. I thought of defecting to my mother's side since there was freedom of choice. She promised to bring me Maradona shoes when she next visited the doctor in town. Maradona shoes were named after the Argentinian soccer legend Diego Maradona. It was a new shoe brand that many children and teens were crazy about. My mother couldn't come back the same day she visited the doctor due to lack of transportation. I patiently waited for my lovely Maradona shoes. I waited 30 hours. I told all my friends, classmates, and cousins. I became more alerted as the clock ticked away. It is one of the strongest memories of my childhood. That was that time waiting for my mother to return. I waited for something I had been assured that would happen. I was sure of the success of my little strategy coup and was looking forward to showing my father how my mother did great things for me, waiting to end the unpleasant days of uncomfortable shoes. Finally, she came back and brought a lot of things in huge bags. Words cannot express how excited I was. I brought Maradona shoes, she announced. I joyfully jumped around here. The thick laces, the solid heels of the shoes, and the big holes on the sides of those laces made me so delighted. I tightened the laces of as I put the shoes on. It was time to boast to my friends and cousins. I felt as strong and confident as a steel gate. Maradona shoes were also a little bit big, and I suffered on the cold days because it was freezing in that winter. But I still love them. It's a nice sensation when you love something or someone. So even if you suffer, you feel okay, as though it is worth it. My Maradona shoes inspired me and gave me a sense of independence. It was my first step towards making my own decisions and fighting for my rights. I had learned that no changes you want can come to pass unless you do something about it or pay a price. When the legend Maradona died in 2020, I had no memory of him as a player because we had no TV to watch the games. But the shoes remind me of the power of endurance and resilience that symbolized the football hero. Thank you. Thank you. Questions? Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So, Daddy, when did you begin to write, not a journalistic piece, but non-fiction or something?
It's a nice question. When I attended university in 2006, oh, sorry. Sorry, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, Fauzi asked me when I start writing nonfiction. Yeah, thank you for the question. In 2006, when I attended university, I missed one of my friends a lot. At the time, there was no internet available like that, and I had no money to afford to buy for phone. I used to write like a post for him as much as I can. One time, the first time, I wrote around 20 pages. It's not only about him, about my situation, about universities, how I miss him, how I feel to them, another province in Iraq. And then I started sometimes just I wrote a letter for my mom, for my sisters, for my brothers, for someone. Just I use them as a character to write what I have in my mind because as I said, I lived in another province. It was the first time I lived away from my family, and the political party run the city was like a dictator party, and we couldn't express at university, and writing was the only way to express my concern in 2006. And then I write a lot for myself without publishing them. Yeah.
So when did you begin to publish?
When I did begin publish my, I think one of the piece in publishing Kurdish in 2012 about Kurdish fighter who fought against tyranny in Turkey, kind of pause. But when I came to Canada and started writing nonfiction, my first piece I think I published in English in 2018. Yes, and now I'm writing a lot.
So
Yeah.
you also write
No, actually, since I moved to Canada, I write only in English. That's bad, but I have to start writing English again. Yeah.
What I was going to ask is what was the transition from writing in Kurdish to English? And I see that you're focusing just on English maybe because it gets the practice. You get the practice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, it's a little bit hard because if you write in a second language, it's probably it's really difficult, and especially about like a literature is so difficult. I sometimes suffer, how I can express the things I want to share. And again, on the other hand, I think I slowly lose my mother tongue, so I have to find some way to write in Kurdish. Now I'm more comfortable writing English. However, I still need more practice, improve my English. But I think it's the way I wanted to share my piece. Yeah. Yeah. Your question.
Earlier when we were talking, you said that you're writing a novel.
Am I right now? Yes, actually, it's just starting, and it's still idea, and I have written only like 15 pages, but it takes time. Maybe I have no idea when I am going to publish a novel, but it may take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I don't know, but slowly I'm working on it, and it's a very important issue. That's why I'm not in a rush to publish. But yes, I am working in a novel.
So what's the idea of the, if you don't want?
Oh, it's okay. What's the idea of the novel? It's about a Kurdish genocide called Anfal. It was held by former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein against the Kurdish people. His army killed and disappeared around more than 100,000 people at least. Most of them ladies, and because they already killed men, and they took them ladies and children. So it's, I think, one of my future project I should write about, and I'm slowly reading and writing them slowly. Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
When you were in college, and because of the political situation, you had to be careful what you express and to whom.
Yes.
Amongst your colleagues, your other students, how did you navigate that? What was the sort of the process of
Oh,
expressing yourself, but only to in that security or that?
oh, you mean?
Express yourself in that situation where you're not allowed to.
Amongst you.
Where was it that you did it?
Oh yeah. How do I express myself here or back home?
When you were in college,
Oh yeah.
you couldn't do it everywhere because of the political situation.
Yes.
So how did you get that to how what was that what did that look like when you
Oh, actually, it was it's really with my university were the most difficult years in my life because um, they controlled the university, and if you write, you would be like if not killed, you hurt because one of the young university students were killed because he wrote a poem, and I was threatened indirect if I continue writing, my destiny will be the same guy. They told me several times, but I told them, yeah, I told them I came here to be die, to be killed. I told them I was not afraid anything until most of the time actually I got like a headache, migraine, because when you have a lot of things you cannot share, there are no one listen to you. So what do you do? Or you have to write, or just dig in your mind. Absolutely, yeah. But actually, after that, when I was at grade third, in 2009, I started writing, and they called me. They told me I was put behind bars if I don't stop writing. But I told them, yeah, I told them just do whatever you like. I do whatever I want, so I'm not afraid of you. And because I couldn't control myself anymore after that. And yeah, it was really a horrible situation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, power to you, Diary. Yeah. So for our last presenter this afternoon, we have emerging poet Sheikh. Let me introduce her to you, and she's going to Skype with us. So Sheikh is a poet, a writer, and visual artist who has recently earned an honorable mention for Surrey Muse's Vera Emanuel Award for Poetry this last year. Much of her creative work is centered around mental illness, emotional hardship, and unraveling the other. Informed by personal experiences and being a minority in more ways than one, Hia finds expression in poetry, writing, and art, and she is passionate about social justice, intersectional feminism, and mental health. When she's not petting cats or listening to metal, Hia finds herself articulating and disentangling the emotional, personal, and social weaving weaving narratives, poems, and visual illustrations of how the realms interject. Hia has a bachelor's in sociology from the University of Toronto, where she now works as an academic counselor. Please welcome Hia while we get her on Skype.
Hello. Well, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. No. Yeah, that's better. A little bit? Oh, I know. Can you say something now? Oh, there we go. That's better, yeah. A little bit more. You're welcome. The stage is all yours.
Hia, just a moment. We're trying to fix the sound because we can't hear you well. So you get closer to your mic, and I'll get my mic closer to the speaker. Let's try it. Let's do a sound check.
Okay, is that any better?
Could you say
Could you
something
say
more?
something one more time?
Hi, is that any better?
Oh, yeah,
It's better.
That's better.
Go ahead, Hia.
Go ahead.
found faces like ours, it was funnily enough, I actually wrote this for an English assignment, but I think it really kind of draws on different experience. It's kind of about an immigrant who is freshly adjusting to Canadian climate, and that goes both in the sense of the geographical climate, but also kind of socially, and it's about being other, but also kind of draws on how often there's this perception that you immigrate for a better life, for an easier life, or opportunities. So when this young immigrant is calling back to report to her family to see how she's doing, she always paints a very rosy picture because she wants it to feel like their efforts were worth it. So I'm just going to be reading the poem. My adopted climate is unforgiving. Frigid winds are like hisses, echoing from an infinite moat. Freezing pellets accompany the howls, embedding themselves in tufts of hair and fabric. My face is bleached and weathered.
I can't do anything about it. What is the issue?
I-
Yeah, sorry, we still can't hear you well.
Okay, so in your Skype, is there a way to turn up your mic volume maybe?
It's the
That I
noise.
see.
The background noise?
I placed audio. Have some going in the background.
In this case, it would be nice if we had speakers too, for the room to hear better. What was that, Michael?
It's not anything, I'm not sure.
Yeah, what do you think? Is there any way to do better sound on your side there?
Maybe what I could do is I could put my camera up like this and then speak directly into the phone.
Let's hear
Like,
it.
is this any better?
Yes, it is much better.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good right there.
My face will
Oh, perfect.
blur for a while, but that's fine.
Stay right there, that's
Yes,
perfect.
nice, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
I will start.
Right there, no, you can leave it down.
Okay.
You can show your face.
Oh, like this?
It's really good now. Yeah, you can
Okay.
maybe start over and you're really good now.
Sure, sounds good, sounds good. So, sorry about all of these little bugs here and there. So I'll be rereading my poem. Let me know if there's any like disturbances or if I need to start over or anything.
Maybe should you start over, yes.
This is starting over.
Faces like ours. My adopted climate is unforgiving. The frigid winds are like hisses, echoing from an infinite moat. Freezing pellets accompany the howls, embedding themselves in tufts of hair and fabric. My face is bleached and leathery, and when exposed, my hands burn with cold. But when Mom calls, the snow is an outstretched blanket. Ice glistens like glass chandeliers, and snowflakes are twinkling stars brought to your doorstep. They nod, we hear, the owners and customers alike, who must trivialities like the abundance of tea in their cornmeal, or the absence of saffron in the rosmalade. I am young and porous. The vitriol they drizzle in their orders seeps into me. But when Dad asks, I am lost in the rich bowls and brilliant breads of chilies, turmeric, and cumin. When Dad asks, the fragrance of curries overpowers their insults, and the same sheer tongue that spews them instead reminds me of home, some unspoken kinship. Their jaundiced words always drip like honey in my descriptions. Outside July, I dilate my outage. I am cautious of every stumbled syllable, every stout letter and incorrect intonation. I deem embroidery clunky and mask the spell of spices with the intensity of perfume. My eyes scan then what isn't readily palatable, and they return to me. I know that, despite my efforts, I'm always frolicking on the perimeters of neither here nor there. But when Mom asks, I am graciously enveloped by society. My quirks, accent, features are celebrated. The neighborhood is a perfect haven. The customers are sweeter than jalebi. Corruption is a third world enterprise, and faces like ours never pass. Because despite their illustrious hope and the promise of better, immigrant parents know that opportunity is equal parts challenge for faces like ours. So yeah, that's essentially the poem. Like I said, it really draws on an immigrant experience. It kind of talks about a young immigrant who is adjusting to life in Canada. She's found something that reminds her of home in a way because she's working in a local a basic restaurant, and she's taking tokens of what is familiar to her, and she's kind of morphing her experience into something positive because she doesn't want her parents to worry about her and to kind of honor the sacrifice they made for a better life. So yeah, that's all I have for you on my end. If you guys have any questions or anything, I'm more than happy to take them.
Kayla, thank you so much. Do you have another to share with us? We have a little time.
Oh, okay, so I kind of only have this one written down for the poem, but I do have some previous ones if you guys are interested.
Yes, just another piece. That would be lovely.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure. Sorry, just pulling it up on my phone.
No problem.
So this one is called Obtuse. It's basically about finding yourself and especially trying to break free from a mold that feels safe but also limiting, and taking the risk of ostracization or rejection um, while trying to be yourself and the challenges that come with. I'm just going to start. Melt all my edges, smooth every rigid line, break my boundaries and watch my fibers fly in dust. My fire dull to embers, with a residual glow consuming. You like me obtuse, I wear like metal. I'd rather galvanize myself. Your approval would promise my aversion. I am asymmetrical, curled at the edges, twisted on the inside. But you prefer me obtuse, unassuming, submissive, sandpaper to my identity. I don't write in chalk. Like a hydraulic sled through rock, my jacket has cut through the mold. Safe and perfectly even, I will atrophy you. I ventured into the heathen horizon. My wings were tarry and sparse, but I made across and back, collected pieces of myself I never knew. And I think I prefer the years to the miracles. Contort me like a beauty of flame, elastic personality and bent demeanor. I am growing the height of my own. It will burn under your punch and weather with shame, but it's growing harder, sturdy, less malleable from heat degradation. Subdued my mutiny, I am still unaligned, blunted my contours, and they spear through anyway. Because you like me obtuse, I have an enduring fire. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I wish we could hear it just a little better. Next time we'll have you over and you, it might be better. I hope so. And I really like your content. You know what you're focused on.
I started when I was 15, kind of as a coping mechanism because I was going through a lot of heavy emotions, and I guess like most teenagers do. But also it was a time when I was diagnosed with mental illness, which now I'm very open about. But at the time, I was really scared about the experience, and I didn't know how to make sense of what was happening to me. So I kind of tried to put my thoughts to paper and see where it took me. And I feel like I kind of learned more about myself during that process. It felt more real when I put my thoughts to paper. And I guess over time then, I brought into kind of the subject matter of my poetry to other things, like kind of themes of social justice, feminism, feeling like an outsider, like another. So, yeah. I got to do a little bit of the writing in my undergrad too, because I had a minor in English, so I guess that kind of gave me more of an academic flavor.
So, if you began writing when you were 15, then you may have quite a few poems by now.
If you began, Fazia was saying, if you began writing since you were 15, you probably have quite a lot of poems by now.
I do, and the sad thing is I've lost a lot of them because they were in like memos in different phones that had stopped working, and I didn't email myself a lot of them when I was younger, so a lot of them I find like little pieces of here and there, and I try to connect something together. But a lot of rough drafts, a lot of poems that never got read by anyone, so
So,
a good practice, I guess.
so we'll see a book of poems soon.
So we'll probably see a book of poems soon from you.
That's a really big goal and dream. I hope it comes to fruition at some point. I would love that.
I'm sure it will.
So, other than
Thank you.
other than poetry, is there any other art that you enjoy?
Well, she was saying, oh, you heard it. Sorry, Thea, go ahead.
Yeah, I do a little bit of prose as well, but besides writing, I do a lot of visual art. I'm kind of a freelance artist on the side as well. And I had my work exhibited for the first time last year, which was kind of
Oh,
cool
wow.
and unexpected. I play around with makeup sometimes, so I'm kind of all over the place. I love music, but I don't have a musical bone in my actual body, and I can't play anything, but maybe at some point I branch into that too.
That sounds so good.
Yeah,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Art and poetry and music.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. That's a mosaic of talent you have.
Mariam does that too.
Thank you.
I like
Mariam
that
is a
too.
poet and a musician.
All the mediums and they can weave together eventually as well. Your poems could be the songs that you sing in the future. You know, your art could be the cover of your album or your poetry
Definitely.
chapbook.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think,
Go ahead.
thank you. Oh, sorry, I was just saying that I think, like, poetry is just one form of expression, but what we have to say can come through in different channels. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Well, thank you so much. Hey, I hope that you'll be with us again soon. I think
Def-
for sound, would you use your laptop or something else? It will be better. I think it was just a phone microphone. That's all.
It could be.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to
Thank-
seeing you again. Cheers to you.
Thank you so much. I feel really honored that I was among such a talented panel of people. So thank you for hearing me out, for giving me the opportunity to speak.
It's our pleasure. Bye. That was loud.
Maybe we are not having an open mic session or
Hello, everyone. So we are coming to the end of our show. There is open mic. Any takers because of the weather? We have low attendance here. I could read you something, but it's on my laptop, which is hooked up to the live stream. Let me try and do something. Hold on. Before we leave you, I'll read you a poem, one of my poems. And speaking of different mediums, and what I was saying to Hayat, that, she's also thinking of dabbling into music and song, and I was saying that, maybe her poems will be her songs in the future too. So this is one of those poems for me. It's called The Longest Night, and I wrote it in, I think it's been more than 5 years, so I'm not exactly sure when I wrote it. But in the last 5 years, I kind of sung it into different songs, not just one. And it does have this kind of song thing. You can tell it's got a little song feeling in the writing anyway. The Longest Night. Hey, I dealt you a hand of wishes, but the staff for the ridge found you no wood, and the water under the bridge offended you to boot. And the whole thing fell through. I dealt a hand at the bank of the sinking beach, a hand that stuck, trembling between the breaks, pressing against our feet. Alongside privilege, blind hope finds abundance. A deep self-betrayal seats itself and faces you in the audience. My eyes on you. Deal the hand that holds me now, the bridge that held us then. Your distance is a moon that lit up the longest night. And I won't deal and I won't gamble. I won't pretend to know your plight. Thank you. And on that note, good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Fazia. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, our attendee, Lisa. Is it Lisa, right?